Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a story that I want to share with you, such a sad story. The message that I have for you, it reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? I am a young South African woman. I am only aged 23 years old. My brother, I have come here on your platform because I am looking for any kind of help that I can get from you. Wherever I have gone to, they have told me that at least if I try to get a prophet that comes from Zim, then I will be able to get help with the problems that I am facing. So the problem that I am facing, my brother, is that I used to date another guy. This guy, he came from Zim. He was not very old. At that time when I was dating him, he was 28 years old. So this guy, he used to sell at a tavern that was in our location. So that is where I knew him from, even though I never went to that tavern going to drink. My mom is a Christian, and at our home, no one is allowed as such to drink. Yes, people can drink, like maybe when you are on Christmas holidays, people can just go around with your friends, then you can drink, but you can never do it in front of my mom. So with this guy who was from Zim, he then proposed love to me, and I said no. But this guy, he was such an honest guy, because whenever I would have any challenges, then this guy, he was the only one who could assist me. He would give me, even though he was not earning a lot of money, but he would try as much as he could so as to give me some money. And I was really happy for myself that at least there was someone who never demanded anything from me, yet they would help me whenever I would go to them so that I can ask for any kind of help. And that was the relationship that was there between me and this guy who was from Zim. So this guy, my brother, he then just went missing in the area where I am staying. And when he went missing, I thought that maybe he had returned back home to his own country. But with time, my brother, I then found out that this man, he had gotten rich overnight, and he was still here in our country, just that he was living in the suburbs, but in our same province and in the same town. So when I heard that this guy, he was like a millionaire, a guy who was just working in the tavern, who was actually staying in that tavern because there was a back room. That is where he was staying. This guy, I had visited him a couple of times, and I used to feel sorry for him because in his own room that he was staying in at the back of that tavern, there was nothing much. There was just a very small bed that actually had some bricks. It didn't have the bed, it didn't have any legs of its own. It just had some bricks piled on top of each other. Then he had a base. On top of the base, just a very old mattress that was always smelly. This guy, he totally had nothing. I remember that he only had one original t-shirt that I went and I bought for him, and this was after he had been buying these fake clothes. So one day I told him, give me some money, I'm going to town so that I can buy something nice for you. Ever since that time when I bought that for him, he had never bought anything else. So I am trying to tell you how much this guy was so much in poverty. I used to feel so sorry for him a lot, but now I was hearing that this guy, he was ultra rich. He had loads and loads of cars. So the guy that was telling me this story, it was also a guy who was from Zim, and he was exaggerating just a little bit because at that time he told me that this guy, he now had a garage, and that garage was full of cars that he will just go to that garage and he will just take one car. Then he would start driving that car. So by the time that I then got back into communication with this guy, I totally found out that indeed money is good. You know, this guy, he used to be very dark in complexion, like dark dark. But when he sent me his pictures the next time around, when I was speaking with him on WhatsApp, then I saw that money is really good. You could actually see that indeed the guy, even though he was dark in complexion, but it was no longer that dark, that poor darkness, but it was that rich darkness whereby there was a little glow to it. Even though I am very light in complexion, but if we could stand by side, you could actually tell that this guy, he had made it in life. I spoke with him and he said that he was really excited that I had actually communicated with him because he had been thinking about me of late. My brother, when he told me that he had been thinking of me lately, I felt my heart skipping because this guy, I had been with him for a very long time, and when he sent me his handsome pictures, I then realized that this was my husband that God had sent for me. And finally, now that he had made it, it was time for me to make my own move because I was the one who had groomed him ever since he had came into our location. I used to make sure that he always dressed nicely, so I felt like I was attached to him in a way. I was the one who had taught him everything about our own culture, so I felt like I was the one who deserved to enjoy his money. Me and this guy, we spoke for a very long time, and the nice thing about money, my brother, when he said that, do you want to come and see me? And when I said yes, that was when this guy just said, okay, fine, I'm going to send someone to come and pick you up. And this guy sent one of his drivers to come and pick me up. I was really excited, like for real. And we then went out. We went to this other mall. This mall, it closes very late. So while we were just chilling, hanging around, then we went past this other eye store. So then he said, no, let us go in there. So we then went in that eye store, my brother. I can say that this was the first time ever in my life to use an iPhone. As we were just going around, then the people in that eye store asked us to leave because they were about to close their shop. Then the guy, he then said that before we leave, is there anything that you want from this store, like anything that you want? I said, I do not have any money. He then said that even in the future, is there anything that you might want? So it was during those years whereby iPhone 8 was like the real deal. So I then pointed at a brand new iPhone and I said, at least if in the future, if I can ever get the money to buy this is the first phone that I am going to buy. It was an iPhone 8 Plus. So he then said, okay, that is fine. This is what I am going to get you. I said, okay, when are you going to buy it for me? He said, right now. My brother, this man, he was holding, like a small bag, those bags whereby they put it to the side. But in those years, they were not yet popular. But it was one of those bags that he had. He actually told me that he had gotten it from China. He had bought it online. In those days, those small bags, they were not yet popular. He then took out some money. This was like cash. And after he had took out that cash, he then paid for that iPhone. And he said, here, let me give you this phone. This phone is yours. And when he did this, my brother, he had sealed the deal. And my heart was all for him now. All that I wanted was to become him. I then told him that let us return back to your place. And when we returned back to your place, my brother, me and him, we then slept together. I made sure that I deleted all the contacts of his other girlfriends that were on his phone. And I told him that I do not want him to speak with any woman ever again. What I didn't know was that this guy, my brother, that I was now expecting him to become my husband, he was living on nothing but borrowed time. He had only 5 years to live. He had gone to do those rituals whereby you are only given a few number of years for you to live, enjoy life. Then after that, you just die. How could I ever known? I thought that maybe there was something that he had done that had given him a lot of money like this, with the way that he was spending the money on me. And what started making me to suspect was that This guy, he actually didn't want like to get married to me in any kind of way, like even an official way. When I said, let us go and tell my parents that you are now my husband, he kept on telling me that we would go. So this was like one of his rules that he was supposed to follow. He was never supposed to tell a woman that you are now my wife, and I was actually forcing myself into his life like that. This man, my brother, when we started staying together, then one night he woke up and he had just disappeared. At the house where we were staying at, he was actually renting out that house, and the banks, one by one, they kept on repossessing his cars and everything that he had. He had no business whatsoever. All that he had was a lot of money, and within a couple of nights, my brother, all of that money just disappeared, as well as this guy. He just vanished into thin air. The next thing that I had was a call that was coming from Zim. This was the first time ever receiving a phone call from across the border. It was like his own sister. Then his sister called me and she told me that she had been operating her brother's phone, and as she was operating her brother's phone, that was when she came across my phone numbers, and she realized that I was the one that was in love with her brother whilst he was in South Africa. She then asked me something that I could not even understand. She just said that, so what did you do? Did you enjoy the money that my own brother was giving to you? I said, what do you mean when you say that? Did you enjoy the money that my own brother was giving to me? Because I don't understand what you are trying to say. Then that sister of that guy that I was staying with, she then told me everything that had happened. She told me that this man that I thought was a genuine man, what he had done is that he had gone to a traditional healer there in his country, and he had been given some charms, sort of like those charms that will create a tokology. And in his case, what had actually happened was that he had been given some years to live, and after living those number of years, then he was going to die. And it was unfortunate that at the time of his death, I was the one that they considered as his own wife. They told me that they were in the process of trying to chase away these tokologies that he had left behind, because I was the one whom they had found in his phone. Like, he had written my name, he had saved my contact as dearest wife, so they were going to send all of his ritual charms to me so that I can take care of them. Then I said, but I do not know anything. She then said that, but when we were suffering here, when we were losing our children and our husbands, you and my brother, you were busy there enjoying his money. So we know that wherever he got these things, it was because he wanted to impress you. Thereby, we are going to return these charms to you so that you can return them back to where he took them, because there is no man who can ever go and get these ritual charms without ever telling his partner. My brother, she then dropped the call on me. I then took the last money that was in my pockets and I returned back home. I never told my mom about anything. I never told anything. So I then started to experience like terrible thoughts, like thoughts of ending my own life. Then I started to see creatures that I never thought that they exist. What happened was that one day I was just bored. There was no one at home. It was me and my kid. My mom had gone out, so I was just sleeping. So my room that I have here at my mom's place, the room at the back, there is a tree. So as I was looking at that tree, I then saw that in that tree there was something that looked like a bed, but it was not a bed at all. This thing that I thought was a bed, that creature, it was actually a small human being that was sitting there in the tree. As it was watching me, it kept on watching me, my brother. Then it laughed. After this creature laughed, The next thing that I found out was that I was lying on the floor, and how I had gotten off from the bed and then lying on the floor, I do not even understand. All of my clothes had been removed. They had not been removed and just thrown to the side. They were neatly packed in the wardrobe, my brother. And when I woke up and when I saw that I was naked, I was shocked with this thing that had happened to me. Then the dreams kept on coming, and they kept on coming to me until I said, this is enough. I went to several South African churches and I could not get any help at all, until I got an idea of going to those churches that are from Zim. That was when I spoke with some prophets, and they told me that this thing that is on me, it is like they woke. That was when those prophets told me that my boyfriend's relatives, what they could have done is that maybe if on his phone he had some pictures, they went with those pictures and they did what is called a return back to sender, and they thought that I was the one who was controlling my boyfriend when he was still alive, and they thought that maybe this thing that we did it together. So these spirits, like those tokologies, they are now tormenting me day and night, and the way that they torment me, I don't think that I will be able to survive any longer without ever ending my life, because I do not know what to do anymore. I have tried to approach several sangomas, and they said that these tokologies, they are too powerful, and if you try to mess around with them, like trying to catch them, they might even kill the person that will be trying to catch them. This was not a single sangoma who told me this. There were about 2 sangomas who told me this, as well as another prophet who is from Zim, who said that I do not want to eat your money for nothing. I just want to tell you the truth. This thing that is chasing after you, it is too powerful for me. I suggest that if you know anyone in Zim who can help you, maybe if you travel to Zim, then they will be able to destroy this tokology that is tormenting you. This thing, my brother, it has made me to suffer for a very long time. Ever since this guy passed away, I have been suffering day and night. I used to work, but not each and every day. I was able to provide for my son, but now I can't provide for him anymore because I am always sick. The way that I am sick in my mind, the thoughts that come flooding into my mind, it is like 1,000 people will be talking to me all at once. So I am even afraid of listening to them, because when they speak with me, they say that, what do you have to live for? What do you have to live for? Why don't you just take your life? And these people that will be speaking with me, they'll keep on repeating these words until I'll start to suffer from a headache. So if you know anyone who can assist me from that side, please help me, for I have suffered. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was forwarded to me by one of our admins. Please let us speak with our dear sister in the comment section.